My name is Dio Morales. Today we got the TIE Reaper preview. We know everything except for one upgrade card in that pack. Let's go ahead and break it down. Alright everyone, so let's talk about the TIE Reaper. The TIE Reaper is the Imperial ship that is part of the upcoming Wave 14 release. We don't have a date for it yet, but we're going to go ahead and break down everything that we have in the preview. Now, we'll start by going through the pilots. So our PS1 is the Scarif-based pilot, and we are at 22 points. One of the things before we knew all the point values on the ships was the question whether or not we would get a cheaper Palpatine carrier than what we had before. We find out no, it's at 22 points. Now, the PS3, we've gotten now to our first unique pilot. His name is Vizier. His ability reads, after a friendly ship executes a 1-speed maneuver, if it is at range 1 and did not overlap a ship, you may assign one of your focus or evade tokens to it. One interesting thing, if you look at the art here, is they're kind of saying like, hey, we know that the TIE Striker, didn't quite make an impact, doesn't have that, is not able to get as many options as possible to keep it alive. Focus evade on a TIE Striker would make it significantly more useful. This is saying, hey, even in the art, right? You see the two strikers with it and says, it could work here. You want to fly some strikers. So with Vizier's ability, one thing we do have to remember is that the adaptive ailerons maneuver, because it is a maneuver, does work with Vizier's ability, even if you don't have a 1-speed dialed in, because ailerons is a maneuver. So the way kind of the tree works is a friendly ship that's close by does ailerons, you trigger Vizier's ability because you've executed a maneuver, you get that focus evade token, and then you do whatever's on the dial. So you have some possibilities there of ships that will be able to ailerons into range 1 and then move out. If you really take a look at that ability, you notice that it is not restricted to a certain number of ships. It's as many ships at range 1, including itself, because it doesn't say another friendly ship, it's just friendly ship, can use his ability. Next one is the PS4 Captain Feroff, is my guess. And it says, when defending, if the attacker is jammed, so they have one of those jam tokens, add 1 evade result to your roll. This is encouraging the jam action, or for other pilots to use the jam action in order to keep this alive. And then lastly, we get to our PS6 Major Vermeil. It says, when attacking, if the defender does not have a focus or evade token, you may change one of your blank or focus results to a hit. So this is more of an offensive ability. No tokens equals being more accurate. Basically get guidance chips as long as the defender doesn't have any tokens. Now, a couple of things to remember here. If you do have Hotshot Copilot on this pilot, on Major Vermeil, it does not work. Hotshot Copilot, you have to spend it, meaning the person already has the token, so they're able to use it. Hotshot Copilot doesn't work. I have seen a couple people initially saying, oh, Hotshot Copilot, this guy's gonna be great. It doesn't work. So let's go ahead and talk about the adaptive ailerons title. It's TIE Reaper only, 0 points, and it's, I think probably the most important part of this is that it makes your 3 banks white. The dial, which we will get to here in a minute, does have those 3 banks as red. You can choose to either have this title or not, but you're probably gonna more times than not see the title on board, because that 3 bank is really important to be able to get some speed and some space if you need it, especially if you're carrying some really valuable crew. And the bottom, just like adaptive ailerons that you have for the TIE Striker, you're required before you move to execute a white 1 bank, 1 forward, or 1 bank in the other direction maneuver before you flip your dial. Go ahead and talk about this dial. While on the face of it, you see quite a bit of red there, I think this actually has a lot of flexibility, and it has a couple of new things and unexpected maneuvers that I know I wasn't expecting to see on this dial. So we'll start with the 1 speed maneuvers. You got a 1 forward, it's green. You got 1 banks, they're green. This ship has a 1 hard. That 1 hard is a really good maneuver. One definite strategy that I can see a lot of people using, especially in the end game, is you can get that ship pretty close to the board edge and use that 1 hard to get you away, especially if you combine that with ailerons plus a 1 hard, 90 plus 45 degrees turn with the ailerons. That's a big deal, and it keeps the turn nice and tight because it is the 1 hard. And then additionally, we have the 1 sloop maneuver. First ship in the game to have a 1 sloop. That is a really tight turnaround maneuver. That's going to keep you engaged in the battle. They are sloops, so you do have to make sure that you account for the 45-degree turn. But I think it's going to be a great move. It does have a stop. We started at 1. It has a stop. So you got zero maneuver, no movement, 1 sloop, a nice tight turn. Those are the only... the 1 sloop is the only turnaround maneuver it does have. There are no K turns on this. For the 2s, we have the 2 hards that are red. So while the 1 hard being white is awesome, these 2 hards being red is going to be a hindrance to moving around in the rocks when it comes to turning. A lot of people have gotten really good at being able to eyeball a 2 hard around a rock. With not having that 2 hard, that extra space, the rise that you get, this is a 2 turn around a rock is going to be pretty difficult. You're going to want to make sure that you are moving far enough forward in order to make that turn. 2 banks are green, 2 forward is green. Then we have the 3 banks that are red, which you did see from the advanced ailerons. They do become white if you do equip that. And lastly, we have the 3 forward, which is green. So I think the balance to white and red in here is fair and balanced. Now, of course, one of the comments is maybe that makes it not as competitive that it's fair. But I'm looking forward to see what kind of tactical advantages people can use this dial plus the ailerons movement in order to really leverage the TIE Striker's movement ability. Even though there's a lot of red on here, it's not really that red because you do have, like I said, you do have the ailerons movement and the title. Let's go ahead and start breaking down some of this crew that comes in the TIE Reaper pack. Let's start with the ISB Slicer. It reads, after you perform a jam action against an enemy ship, you may choose a ship at range 1 of that ship that is not jammed and assign it 1 jam token. So, a couple of things about this. Let's talk about what the jam action is. The jam action says that you give somebody this jam token, and when they have a focus, an evade, or a target lock, not on them, but they've performed one. They label it as blue, meaning that person has a target lock that it has on someone else. That token is removed, and then the jam token is removed. With this, what you're looking to do is the ISB Slicer is spreading the love of the jam and trying to punish formation flying. Now let's talk about Tactical Officer. 2 points. Again, nice point cost. I think it can fit in a lot of different lists. Your action bar gains the coordinate action. It is Imperial only, and this is huge. I think this is the biggest tool that is being given to the Imperial faction in this expansion. Yes, the ship is great, but now that every ship from here on out that has a crew slot could have the ability to have the coordinate action is really powerful. Because up until now, the only coordinate that the Empire had available was the Upsilon shuttle. And those are super expensive. Now, I believe the cheapest that we can do now is a Scimitar Squadron pilot with the TIE Shuttle title from Imperial Veterans. plus tactical officer, and you have a pretty cheap Imperial coordinate machine there. Now, I do want to compare this to someone like Fen Rao, the rebel pilot. While tactical officer is a pretty strong card, it's not as strong as Fen Rao. The big advantage that Fen Rao rebel pilot has is that he's at PS9, you put VI, you have PS11 coordinate. Currently, right now, the Empire has no way to get PS11 coordinate. That was the very first thing I did. I went on my squad builder and went, is there any PS9, the Imperial Boba Fett, which you don't see too much, or on the Decimator on someone like Rack, Rear Admiral Cherno. But we'll see what comes out in the future. If we get a PS9 with an EPT that has a crew slot, this is definitely something you should immediately try to see if you can leverage that, because as we've seen from the success of lists like Lothal and Fen, it's really powerful to have PS11 coordinate. Lastly, let's go ahead and talk about Director Krennic. We have the full information on him. We had all the words on his crew card, but what now we have is the full information on optimized prototype, which is the condition connected to him. Let's go ahead and break it down. So Director Krennic, Imperial only, during setup, before the place forces step. So you don't get to see your opponents, where they're putting their ships. Here, you assign the optimized prototype condition to a friendly Galactic Empire ship, so no First Order, with 3 or fewer shields. So there's a list of those. I don't have them off the top of my head. I'll go ahead and put those right here. All the ships that you can optimize prototype right now. Have you read it? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what optimized prototype does. So optimized prototype, first half of this we already knew. Increase your shield value by 1. So they had 3 shields, now they have 4. Once per round, when performing a primary weapon attack, you may spend 1 die result to remove 1 shield from the defender. That is, you roll your dice, you take your blanks or unmodified focus, you spend it, you remove it from the pool, and now 1 shield's coming off. That's a very powerful ability, and it gives ships that had problems doing damage the potential to actually start doing meaningful damage. A great example would be something like Sunterfell, who historically hasn't done a lot of damage, but now with optimized prototype might actually have a place in the meta by being able to shoot at things. It doesn't matter what I roll, because I'll at least do 1 damage, 1 shield damage. The second half of this, now that we see it, I think is the most interesting part that I'd like to break down. After a primary weapon attack, a friendly ship at range 1 to 2 equipped with Director Krennic upgrade card may acquire a target lock on the defender. So, you've created a relationship between these 2 ships where you have the crew of Director Krennic gets a target lock at range, as long as it's at range 1 to 2, when that ship shot. So I am Sunterfell and I am shooting ship A. As long as my Director Krennic is within range 1 to 2, ship A is now going to be target locked by Director Krennic and its ship. Being able to have extra offensive modifiers is fantastic. So I'm looking with this crew at Rear Admiral Cherno. Rack likes to have target locks because it makes with his passive modifiers, it makes him a little bit more reliable. I'm interested to see how people will leverage this. Now, while this might be costly, this could possibly free up the system slot on something like the TIE Phantom, because traditionally you always put fire control system on Whisper. Now you have some different possibilities there, because Director Krennic's optimized prototypes, if you do it yourself, assuming you have the points in your squad, you now can cycle target locks like you would with fire control system, and now that system slot is open. You can use it for something like collision detector possibly, which does work on decloaks, or advanced sensors maybe even, to be able to get a barrel roll before your movement, or be able to do your action like a focus or an evade, and be able to run into ships. Like there's a lot of different possibilities now that you could possibly open up that system slot and be able to utilize that crew slot that is on the Phantom, because there is no restriction for Cranek except that you have to be able to afford it in your squad. He's 5 points, and it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. Thank you for watching our first video of this kind on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's tons of ways to support our content. We are doing live streaming at Worlds, all kinds of events around the United States. All that information is in the description. So if you feel so kind as to support us, thank you very much. And to everybody who has, you guys are awesome. Thank you. Gold Squadron, out. So you could use something like collision. So you use something...